Welcome back to episode 19 of the Michigan Outdoors podcast. As always, I'm Tyler Mihai alongside Justin Tomei and Steve Wyndham. Our guest today is the founder and owner of Women of the Wild, owner and guide at Ms. Guided Outdoors, photographer and outdoor educator Felicia Marie. And the Michigan Outdoors podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and a video edition on YouTube, not on YouTube Music. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Justin tried to sneak that in again. If you're not already, follow us on Instagram as well at Michigan Outdoors Pod. And the Michigan Outdoors podcast is proud to partner with Onyx Hunt. Join the millions of hunters who trust Onyx Hunt to help them fill their freezers. Create hunt strategies for your property with custom waypoints, view wind forecasts for individual stand sites, integrate with cell cameras, and so much more. Onyx is essential for hunters to understand property lines, find an eScout public land and other hunting spots, and all of the other tools to give yourself the best possible chance at a successful hunt. All current MUCC members are eligible for a 1-month free trial of Onyx Elite and an additional 20% off your annual membership. New MUCC members will get a free 3-month trial of Onyx Elite in their welcome email when signing up. To find your current membership discounts, log into your MUCC member portal and click on the membership discounts link to see all of the benefits of being an MUCC member. Join MUCC today to take advantage of these offers. All right, episode 19. Felicia, how you doing?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us. Steve, Justin, how you guys doing?
Living the dream.
Yeah.
It feels like a long week, even though it's only 4 days.
Even though we're day 3 of the week as of recording.
Well, it's only 2 for him.
That's true. It's a normal week.
That is true.
Yeah.
Kids have field trips.
Well, I mean, policy is going to be a quick one, but we might as well hop into that.
Super easy. June 12th NRC meeting. When's this coming out?
2 weeks.
So the week of the meeting. Yeah. So this week is the NRC meeting as you're hearing it. It's in Bay City. There are no orders going to be up for information, no orders up for action. It's going to be an out by lunch type day. So just a reminder, they postponed the Coyote reopening indefinitely, meaning they could bring it back at any time as old business. We continue to work the commission to get them to do it as soon as possible, but it may not be June. It may be June of next year. We'll see. Legislature, as of time recording, they are off this week. They're on Mackinac Island for the policy conference. And
They're on Mackinac.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they go every year. Every year I get a call. You going to Mackinac this year? No, I'm not. But they're up there.
We don't go to that event
because it's $1 billion. So they're out this week. They'll be back next week, and June is traditionally budget time. The House hasn't come out with a budget yet, and I don't think that we're going to have a budget by the end of June like we're supposed to. But that is it right now. So nothing new since the last time. Easy.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Shout out to the legislature. All right. Well, now that we're done with that, a quick message from our sponsor, the American Forest Foundation.
Your land is your legacy, but keeping it healthy and thriving means caring for it now and in the future. The Family Forest Carbon Program can help you do right by your land with guaranteed income, help developing a forest management plan, and advice from experts. If you own 30 acres or more of forest land in Michigan, Wisconsin, or Minnesota, you may be eligible to enroll in the Family Forest Carbon Program. Visit familyforestcarbon.org and enroll today.
And visit familyforestcarbon.com to see if you qualify for the Family Forest Carbon Program. And thank you to the American Forest Foundation for their partnership. All right, Felicia, usually we have a little bit longer intro than that, but you get out easy today. So we're going to hop into your background, what you're doing. So for everyone listening, can you give us just a little bit of an intro of your background, where you're from, what did you do growing up, and then how you got into hunting and fishing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Gibraltar, Michigan, and did not grow up hunting, contrary to what a lot of people think. I grew up fishing. The Great Lakes, a lot of pike, muskie, walleye. As soon as I could hold a pole, I was out there fishing with my dad. But my dad was not a hunter for me growing up. He actually hadn't hunted in my lifetime. He gave it all up to raise 3 girls. And throughout my childhood, it was just fishing. Like everything I did was fishing. And one day, I was probably 16, 17 years old. I was actually watching an outdoor show, and they were interviewing the late great Fred Bear, and they were talking archery. And I had just told my dad, I want to do that. I want to try it. So we went to Gander Mountain when that was a thing and got me a Browning bow, got set up, and fell in love with it, with basically just starting with archery. And then at 17 was when I really started getting myself involved in the outdoors more and realizing that I had such a big passion for the outdoors beyond what had ever been catered to me as a child, and just fell in love with it, became a part of my life. And I was never allowed at deer camp. I was never allowed at fish camp for being a girl. So one day I just said, you know what, I'm going to start my own. And that's kind of where all of this spiraled from.
So I want to walk back to something you said. You
Sure.
started with a bow before you had started shooting guns. Is
Yes.
that accurate?
Yes.
Interesting. I feel like that's something you don't hear often. I feel like usually people start out with a 22 or a 12 gauge and they kind of evolve into a bow. At least that's what I did. But I find that really interesting to hear that like you just immediately went right to archery and that's where what you really enjoyed doing. When did you
Yeah.
start shooting guns after the archery?
Took a couple of years. I started with a compound bow, and then I really loved the primitive aspect. So I went to recurve, and I did that for a couple of years. And then my first gun, gosh, I think it was a Rossi 20 gauge, the combo where it can be like a 410, 22, 20 gauge. And I think it was a couple of years before I got into gun hunting. And I would classify myself more still for the love of archery, that more primitive style. I've used atlatl, blowgun, things like that now. Really waterfowl and occasionally turkey are pretty much the only thing I use a firearm for if I can get away with it. I'd waterfowl hunt with my bow if I could.
I've thought about that. I wanted to shoot geese with a bow. I was talking to a CO over in Eaton County, and he said there's one guy over. You can't hunt the Windsor State Game Area anymore, but he said he used to just post up in a lawn chair and he would just sit and shoot geese with his bow like all day. And he said he was pretty successful with it, which I'd love to try it. I don't think I've ever seen a goose or hunted geese in a place where I'm like, oh, a bow would be great.
Have you ever seen the videos of, I think it's Tim Wells shooting ducks out of the air with a bow?
Him and his daughter Sydney.
Yeah, those are crazy videos. That's
Yeah.
so
He's
cool.
kind of, you know, he's into all the primitive stuff, and I mean, he's big into blowguns,
Spear
and
hunting.
spearing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you ever speared an animal?
I have not ever speared, and I haven't ever taken an animal with the blowgun. It's not legal here in Michigan. I've tried to see what, you know, the laws were here of where you can and can't, and it's off the table here in Michigan, but I have taken it down to Texas. I've practiced a lot with it, plan on taking that overseas with me next year. So hopefully that I'll get my, what's
There you
that?
go.
Write a resolution, have MUCC get to work on making it legal here in Michigan.
You know, it's funny because you can use a slingshot, but not a method of a blowgun, which is an arrow. So I don't know. I would love for that to be on the table.
I feel like I've been seeing in Florida a lot. That's becoming a pretty popular weapon for iguana hunting.
Yeah, I would do
'Cause
that.
down there, they just want to get rid of them as
That
much
sounds
as
like
they
fun.
can. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty good time. Cool.
I
Yeah.
want to ask you a question. So you said you weren't allowed at deer camp, and growing up, wives and daughters never came to our deer camps either. And then I don't remember what changed, but it did change. And my wife started coming. My dad's wives, plural, started coming. Not at the same time, plural at separate times. But I was just curious, has that changed now? That are you go to family deer camps now, or family fishing camps, whatever it is now?
I don't. So it's still not okay. It's a man's world, and honestly, I really resented that for many years, and kind of held that against like men in general of like, why is it okay that you can go do this and I can't? And eventually I'm a mother of 2 boys, and it took the whole change with Boy Scouts to make me realize that, because when they opened up Boy Scouts for girls to join, I was so against it, because I think boys, you know, have their right and all the hormones raging and everything, that they shouldn't be exposed to little girls. And it really opened up my eyes to that. And I'm completely okay with it. I think that men deserve their space, women deserve their space. I understand now that, you know, maybe a man in camp now all of a sudden has a woman there. It might make his wife uncomfortable. Get it. But that's why we have what we have with Women of the Wild, and we're able to provide a safe space for women to connect in that same camaraderie and build that sisterhood in the outdoors together. So typically everything that I do now is, I would say 99% is all women's. We do some co-ed, we do some youth stuff, and I do a little bit of personal on my own. But even my guide service is for women and children only. I don't open it up to the public.
Yeah, I was gonna say, before we get too deep into it, do you want to talk through Women of the Wild and just what that is for everyone listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of years prior to 21, I had started mentoring women in the outdoors. In 21, I LLC'd a company here in Michigan. It was supposed to just start as a small Facebook group for women to be able to come together, ask questions, have that safe space where they're not judged. Within about a month or two, we grew to 3,500 members, and I realized I had opened Pandora's box, that there was a need for this. So we started hosting events, and now almost 5 years later, we are hosting in-person events for hunting, fishing, trapping, like literally you name it in the outdoors, we're doing it. We do in-person education, online education, and anything from teaming up with the Michigan USDA Midland Conservation District. We've done canning events. We've done a lot of trapping events. We've expanded well beyond Michigan. We're all over the United States and even international now. But it was just a want and a will to get outdoors and not feel like we didn't belong. It was very taboo for me growing up as a female to do the things that I wanted to do, and really avid outdoorsman. That was like so weird growing up for a girl to want to do those things. And it's great to have a space where I have like-minded women and we continue to flourish.
So Felicia, is it like a chapter? You said you're international now, and it's, you started your roots here in Michigan. Is it like an NDA where there's chapters, or do you just run everything from the home base here and just kind of have your worker bees out there doing the work, or have you established like a chapter system for the organization?
So we don't have a chapter system. It is all still hub base here in Michigan. I set up all of the events. We have 11 girls on staff that are representatives of the company, that if I'm not able to attend as an educator, we have other girls that are able to step in if it's in a state that, doesn't align with my schedule or the travel's too far, because I do work full time on top of all this. That if it doesn't align, then we have girls that are representatives, part of the company, that step in to educate.
What's like the credentialing for those staff that you have on? Do they have to be like hunter safety educators? Do they just have to have a history and a love of the out? Like, how do you vet those individuals that you bring on board?
So for us, there's no really vetting specifications with it. We kind of hand select every girl that we bring on the staff. Passion is the biggest drive. We can teach you anything, but we need you to be dedicated. We need you to be committed to the mission of helping other women. So it's more of a personality trait that we look for. I'm okay with bringing a girl on staff that's never hunted or never fished, as long as she's got that aspiration to want to help others. That's the biggest thing for us. And we'll teach them and train them. We do training events. We do things to get our staff together and teach them a style of hunting or fishing that they've never done before and get them educated. We don't require anything. I mean, obviously you have to have your hunter safety, but we don't require them to be an educator. We do want first aid, CPR, things like that, because you're the first line out there for us. So we do make sure that we're making sure the girls are safe in a safe environment. And then from there, vetting more goes towards the guides and outfitters that we utilize. We go through a thorough vetting process. We go out with them before we host an event with them. We make sure they're licensed. We make sure background checks are cleared. We just make sure that they have everything they say they have, whether that's insurance, their captain's license, guide's license, check the state regulations for the state they're operating in. So there's a lot of work that goes into who we select to do our events with.
I want to walk back to something that we kind of grazed over, but you grew your Facebook group to 3,500 members, and was that a week or a month that you said?
It was like a month or two.
I mean, that is crazy though. Like,
yes,
to get that growth in any industry is wildly impressive. What do you think the reasoning is for that? I mean, what was kind of the catalyst for creating that type of growth? I mean, obviously you're in an industry, especially with women, that's a little bit overshadowed. It can be hard for people to find their tribe. But what do you think was like the actual reasons that it blew up so quickly?
I mean, in 21, there wasn't a lot out there. There was a few women's groups that were doing, high caliber events, but there wasn't anything out at that point in time that was very specific to women. It is a private group, and it is women only. So I think it just created that safe space. They started sharing it, and there was just that drive for it. So from there, it just exploded. And now we still have our private group. We have our public pages. We have all the, TikTok, Instagram, all of that now public, but we still hold very true to keeping things tight knit in our private women's group.
What kind of opposition have you faced to that? I mean, are there men out there that are annoyed that you're doing a women's only and they want to be a part of it? Are people welcoming, like, oh, I don't have to bring them to my deer camp now, they have their own? What's kind of I'm going to say even just like the male response to all of that, Ben?
It really depends. For the most part, we see a lot of support. A lot of the companies that sponsor us and support us are male companies. We see a lot of support. Yes, we've gotten a little bit of kickback of, not to get all political, but transgender being upset that we don't let them in, or we've had men say, I'll put on a tutu and join you, or change my name or whatever. I just want to go do these things. And I would never say it's ever kickback. It's more like a comical response. I think that it's respected that we have our safe space, and we can flourish within that with a little bit of support. But really, we don't get a lot of kickback. We kind of stay small and true to ourselves.
When you guys are doing like some of the events, you mentioned that you vet the guides and the outfitters that you're partnering with. Have you seen an increase in female guides and outfitters that you're able to work alongside with, or are you still like a fishing charter where you're going to learn a new style of fishing? Are you finding it's hard to have those women leaders as the guides, outfitters, captains, or are you seeing that number grow and having more opportunity to have it be completely women instead of, the women's group on a guy's boat? How has that changed for you over the years? Are you noticing that increase?
I haven't noticed an increase. That was actually why I licensed myself here in Michigan, and why I did my guides license, to provide that opportunity.
Yeah.
For us, I will say it doesn't matter whether you're a male or female. As an educator, if you are the best qualified, you are the person we want instructing. I don't see the issue with a man being the educator. That is something we've been asked before, why we don't have more female instructors. It's very difficult to find well-versed women who are able to do all these things, and it is completely okay with us to have men doing it. But unfortunately, we haven't seen a big influx in women. I have a friend that has a company out west that they are creating that, and I think it's fantastic.
Very
But
cool.
just because you can do it doesn't always mean you're the best qualified for it, and that's what we want. We want the best qualified.
Very cool. What's been your favorite like educational event that you've done with the group, like learning like salmon fishing or primitive bow? Like, what's been one of the more memorable things that you've done as an education or like a trip with your group?
So 4 years ago, I think this might be going on 5 years, I started a program here in Michigan where it's an intro to waterfowl that I host through my guide service. And it is a complete intro. We fit their shotguns for them. We teach them how to shoot shotguns. We simulate an actual hunt before season opens, set up A-frames, layouts, and we shoot clays. And then the next day we take them out for goose opener. That, to me, every single year is one of my favorites, to watch somebody go from nothing to everything, and then a week or two later they're out on their own or with their friends or family.
Awesome.
So let's talk about just the breadth that you do, because it caught me off guard to hear you say that you work full time as well, because you're a mother of two, you have Women of the Wild, you have Misguided, I know you do photography, and then you have a full-time job on top of all of that.
Yes.
How do you make time for that? Like, I don't know how you could juggle all of that. That's crazy.
You just do it. That's
Simple.
really
That's simple logic.
yeah. I mean, I work in healthcare, 40 hours a week for the University of Michigan, and I've been in that for over 10 years, and I love it. But when I'm not working my full-time job, I am grinding it out every other way. I lose a lot of sleep, but I'm okay with it.
Sleep when you're dead.
Right.
I can I can speak from experience. I think all three of us can, is that when you're doing something that you like actually enjoy and are passionate about, it makes it a lot easier to
It's not
do
work
that.
anymore.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, and it feels like you're pretty good at kind of intertwining all the things you do, right? Like if you're doing a Women of the Wild event, you could be guiding that event, and you could, I assume you're probably taking pictures as well. So
Mhm.
if those are all of your passions, I mean, that kind of sounds like best case scenario of finding an opportunity to mix all of your passions together and have this great output for, or that's super impactful on a lot of people.
Yeah, it's definitely very easy to do when you're able to umbrella them that together like that. I guide often completely separate from Women of the Wild, that I'll draw my guide service in for like the educational goose hunt. But for like deer hunting, for for turkey, for deer hunting, for anything where it's more of a one-on-one, I do those mentorships solely through my guide service typically. Women of the Wild will sometimes sponsor them. Like we're teaming up with the Michigan Hunt Collaborative and the National Deer Association this year to do some mentored doe hunts for both youth and women. Those are
Doing
more
the farm tour.
specifically, we
Yep,
have
very cool.
4 dates available. 1 is for youth, 3 is for women, and I'm taking the lead on those women's events. And that's more of me personally, and then Women of the Wild is coming in and stepping in to help with that as well.
Are you going to be a lead?
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. I saw. Yep, good stuff.
So
That's going to be.
we talked about getting involved in that in some manner.
Yeah,
It's a great,
that'll
so
be a
I was
good
part of the pilot last year. And it went phenomenal. So then Brian contacted me to start hosting all women's doe hunts for the farm tour, and we're really excited for it. It's a great opportunity. But for Women of the Wild, we're more about the sisterhood, the camaraderie. We don't do a lot of like one-on-one mentoring. That's when my guide service kind of pulls in separate from Women of the Wild. And when we do Women of the Wild events, they're more of a larger scale. So typically 3 or more women on an event is what we're really pushing for. We want that camaraderie, we want that sisterhood, and we want to build a community together.
So are these events like you go shoot sporting clays together, or you guys do a fishing charter, or is it like a pint night or like a habitat program? What's the variety, or what's some of the events you guys have coming up, or just the ones that you've seen the biggest turnout for, or that's really been able to establish that sisterhood and those friendships? Like, what are some of the things you guys are actually doing?
So we do a lot. I'll start from the beginning. We do typically the beginning of the year, anything from ice fishing to pheasant hunts. And then we move into walleye. From there, we run, I personally kind of step away a little bit and I take on my turkey season. And then we've already started bow fishing. So we've started Wisconsin, we have Michigan. I think by the time this airs, it'll be the week prior, but next weekend we have Michigan bow fishing, and then we have Illinois bow fishing. We have muskie, we have sturgeon, we have, salmon out in Wisconsin. We have duck hunts. We have South Africa every year. We kind of dabble in a lot of that as far as the hunting goes. We've gone free range for aoudad down in Texas. We've done exotics. We've done a lot of waterfowl. And then aside from hunting and fishing, we do canning, trapping. Trapping is another big passion of mine. On my day offs during the week, I actually work for a farmer, and in exchange for hunting ground and trap for him and do a lot of land management. So we do a lot with trapping. Sometimes it's crafting. We also have our Women of the Wild podcast. We do trivia, educational pieces. And then our online can be anything from how to select your hunting dog and train it to, we've done a ton of like online education of how to reuse pieces of a turkey in order to utilize all of the animal processing,
Like a
wild
wing call.
game.
I
What's
saw
that?
that the other day. I think it was Clay Newcomb was talking about you can take the bones out of a turkey wing and make it into a turkey call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before.
They do it with baculums too. You know what that is?
Nope.
Yep.
I get to Google. Tyler has to Google what a
Penis
baculum
bone.
is.
That's
It's a
what
penis bone.
I figured. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
So, Felicia, is Women of the Wild a nonprofit, like a 501c3?
We are not 501. We are in the process right now. I think we're going to go with an S corp.
Okay.
We looked at going nonprofit, but we have a lot of really big plans in the future. So I actually have a meeting this July with our team to see what route we're going to take it this year.
So, I mean, obviously, you're doing almost every species in Michigan and other states and countries and continents. What's your personal favorite pursuit?
Turkeys. I'm a huge
Yeah.
turkey fanatic.
You'll be happy to know I shot my first turkey this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. Justin took me out, and
Justin couldn't get it done. He had to go with someone else.
I shot my turkey by myself. What are you talking
Not you. You
Oh,
couldn't
me.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Tyler.
he's scared to shoot, Felicia.
That's what it is.
I put
Yep.
I've killed a lot of birds. That's my thing too. I put one of the biggest birds I've ever seen in front of him on public land, and he's aiming at him like shoot. And there's another guy sitting next to him, and Tyler moves his gun, shaking real bad, doesn't shoot.
Not true.
And I'm like, somebody shoot the turkey, and nobody shoots. And I yell at him one more time with an expletive, and the other guy shot, didn't get it, but
Well, he
Tyler
got
could have
it.
had it.
He just didn't.
Yeah, he knocked it over, but Tyler could have had it and didn't.
I got another one. It was okay. But yeah, that opened me up to
Are you
how
hooked now?
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
will be out next year. I actually just sent Justin a picture last night. I just hung my fan mount from my turkey, and I was very happy with how it turned out because I've never done anything like that. And
You need to go to a Women of the Wild class when they do crafting, and you can learn how to make a better turkey fan.
I would love to because
Yeah,
it's okay, but it's not for everyone.
I've done videos on. Have you ever seen a turkey rug?
No.
So I've done a turkey rug myself, and I've done videos previous years. I want to say 21, 22, on how to turkey rug your turkey. So, you can't always afford to full body mount them, and sometimes these birds are just absolutely stunning with their colorations. So we've done that. I've done how to fan mount, how to preserve your feet, different things you can do. Right now, the big one is the feather art where you put it in a frame.
Yep.
So we're
I was
working
just
on a
like, those
video
are
for
cool.
that. Yeah,
I took all the feathers because I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and then I got home and looked at it and was like, "There's no way I can do this."
I have 4
It's
of
like
them
a
going
naughty
on my
puppy.
dining room table right now.
How long does that take to do one? Do you think?
I mean, I did a small, like an 8x12 in probably an hour, hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
I come from an artsy background too, so
There it is.
so I really enjoy that side of it. I think, I don't know, I have one that's 36 by 24 that I'm going to be working on shortly.
Does the fan fit inside there, like inside the frame, and it's
Yeah.
got the feathers? That's cool. I've seen those ones. Those are really
Yeah.
cool.
So the full fan, the wing feathers, that saddle, all of that will be into it. And then I'm doing it a little bit different than what I've ever seen anybody else do. So I'm super excited for how that's going to turn out. But I'm like a couple months out because I'm building the whole thing from scratch, not purchasing, and still trying to figure out my way with that. But turkeys
I
were
told
it.
Justin.
Sorry.
I was like, I'm gonna do that. I was like, I'm gonna do this really pretty design. It's gonna look great. I got the wings. I got everything. And then I got home and was like, no, this is not gonna happen. But I'm very envious that you have the artistic skills to actually do that because they look beautiful.
Yeah, it's just a really great way to commemorate a hunt that's a little bit different than I don't even want to get into taxidermy.
Have you
My
dabbled
house,
in taxidermy?
no, but my house is like a little baby Cabela's, and I just wanted something different than just to mount everything. So I've done, like, I have fan mounts throughout the house. I have the rug. I have a full body that I've yet to pick up because it doesn't fit in my Tundra. I'm gonna have to box truck or something to go get it. But turkeys are a huge passion for me. That's actually why I started guiding them, was because I can only kill one here in Michigan, and I want to keep hunting them.
That was one thing I found really interesting is, again, I'm an adult onset hunter. I started hunting at probably 20 or 21, and I had never turkey hunted before. And I always looked at it as just kind of like, oh, it's kind of akin to deer hunting or waterfowl, whatever. And then I did it, and I was like, oh, this is so wildly different, and just the hysteria of it, how much the obsession from people. Like, I didn't understand that people are turkey hunters first and foremost. And after getting into that world, I'm like, wow, I get it now. Like, this is awesome.
It's a great hunt. For me personally, it's one of my favorites for a new hunter because it's such a sensory hunt. There's a lot of action most of the time. This year was a pretty quiet season, but for the most part, it's a very sensory hunt for people. And it's a really great intro. I think that's one of my favorites to introduce people with. The other one is pheasants because the birds are a little bit slower. It's a little bit easier. But that's typically like my go-to. If somebody wants to get into hunting, I'm like, start with turkey.
I like taking folks for turkey too, because there's so many different ways you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the 2 days Tyler hunted, we run and gun, we were chasing birds, we had birds going in the roost, we set up and just wait. I mean, we did it all. The other one too is, especially for young kids, take them, put them in the car and drive around, go look for some birds. Like,
Yes.
you can get out of the woods and really stretch, do so many different things. And yeah, turkey hunting's my jam. I love it. You put a gun to my head and told me pick turkey or deer, I'd hunt turkey all day.
Hands down. Yeah. Agreed.
I really like how you describe that as a good sensory hunt, because that's like the best definition I've ever heard. Because it truly is like just, again, we recorded a podcast before we went out, and Steve was talking about like there's nothing better than just pitch black. You get out, you sit down, and you just start hearing gobbles. And I never got that. And then when I heard it, I'm like, oh yeah,
Just cuts through the darkness,
yeah,
and
it's just different.
Blood.
God, I want to go turkey
goes.
hunting.
I know.
I know.
I might call
I'm
in
like-
sick the passport this weekend. Go turkey hunting.
I'm like a little kid when those first gobbles start hammering off in the morning and it's still dark out. I'm like shaking, and I'm like still to this day, it just gets you.
It's the best part when you're sitting there and you're with a
Steve
buddy.
doesn't hunt.
Shut up. With a buddy or a friend, and that gobble rips, and you just look at each other, and like you just have that look on your face of like, oh yeah, here it comes.
Pure adrenaline.
So much
My
fun.
15-year-old just shot his bird this season last week, and it's been a really, I don't know if for you guys, but it was a really quiet season here in Michigan for us. Birds are not gobbling, like they're coming off the roost and you don't hear a peep. And this, like, I called, we got set up, we ended up going out for an afternoon, and I'm more of a morning hunt person. But we went out for an afternoon hunt because he didn't want to wake up early watching wrestling late at night. And I let out a couple of calls, and within 30, 40 minutes, that bird he came in a little bit wavering because I use a full strutter. He didn't know if he was going to test that strutter or not. And then when he decided he committed, beelined it to us. I think we sat for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half tops. And that's the other thing too. When the turkeys read the script, it's a pretty short hunt. So for kids, it's great because they're not drug out for long periods of time.
Oh, I had the opposite. Well, so I worked a pair of birds for 4.5 hours at one point this year. They were on private, and I was on the national forest, and I'd call them, and I could hear them just over this little knoll, and I kind of set myself up on purpose so that the property line was like the edge of my vision, so that I wouldn't shoot over it, and I could hear them walking back and forth, gobbling at me just on the other side. And I didn't know it at the time, but when I got up and looked after 4.5 hours of working these birds, there's a little barbed wire fence like knocked over, and they didn't cross it, and they were just walking. I was,
Oh my gosh.
But birds were gobbling this year for me,
Yeah.
which was shocking because normally they don't. But man, I want to go hunting so bad now.
Now I have
2
a
days
question for you guys about turkeys though.
Yeah.
You brought up scouting. Scouting is something we love to do, whether it's waterfowl, turkeys. Huge controversy here, but how do you guys feel about turkey patterning? Do you believe in it? Do you not? Do you guys chase patterns?
So Steve doesn't hunt. This was
Oh my
Tyler's first
God.
year. I try and get a beat on 'em. So I have one roost. I call it Turkey Mecca. There's been birds there where there should not be birds, but they're there every morning, and they've been there every morning for 6 years. And so I know I'll usually go up there a few days beforehand and hear a gobble in the morning. I don't take calls. I just stay and listen and then leave. And I know where those birds go. So I kind of just hunt. I set up based on what I know about those birds. But then I have a few other places where I'll try and find roosts and try and figure out. I've started to put cameras up because it's an hour and a half from my house and see where I can get them. So I try and figure it out, make it as easy as possible. But I also hunt national forest birds that are high pressure, big timber birds, and so they're cagey and they're hard to pattern because those birds, they see or hear a truck or they see a person, they don't even wait, they just go. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've done it all. I've started scouting more because in my old age I don't have the energy to run around like I used to.
Yeah.
I think it depends
Cameras
on
help.
like I think it's where you're at. Like if you're out in farm country
Yeah.
and nothing's bothering the birds, I think you can pattern them pretty well. Like, you know where they roost on average, you know kind of what path they take through the woods, like what their day is like. But I think if it's a high pressure area where they're getting bumped or booted, or there are a lot of predators in the area, they're going to be moving and changing their habits. But I think it just depends. Like, I was hunting down near Ann Arbor, and it's just farmland, and you can pattern those birds. Like, you know exactly where they
Public
were.
versus private is going to
Yeah,
be very different.
yeah. So I think it just depends. But I think it's smart to do it. I think it's smart to scout and try and pattern the bird so you know where to set up on their route, throughout their day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a private land princess is what I call it. Everything I do is on private. I
Love
scout
that.
my birds year round because I want to know what they're doing when it's raining. I want to know what they're doing if like there's been a predator in the area. So I actually scout my birds year round with my kids. We drive around either before school, after school, and we are constantly checking those birds. And I mean, they're a wild animal. Of course, there's anything that can break them, but for the most part, they are like clockwork. And I can normally time a hunt when I take out a client. I can usually time it within a 15 to 30-minute window of when they're going to shoot their bird.
Wow.
That's good.
I like, my daughter's 6 now, so we did go up a few times this year, excuse me, and go look for birds, and that was a lot of fun with her because we were able to find them. Yeah, I hunt national forest land. I grew up hunting private land orchards near Traverse City. I mean, almost exclusively, and I kind of got to the point where it can be real easy to shoot a bird sometime, and I liked the challenge, and so I started hunting by myself in national forest, and then now it's grown because, like you, I want to hunt more.
Mhm.
So I take people with me that don't know how to turkey hunt on the weekend, and I hunt all weekend with them. Then they leave, and I hunt by myself. But yeah, I like solving the puzzle. So
Yeah. I like
but
the
at the
spot and
national forest,
stalk. No blind,
yeah,
just
that's a lot of fun.
yeah.
The
That's
weather messes with you so much in the national forest because if the weather's nice, it's 400 billion ATVs and side by sides. This year wasn't as bad, but last year I was 3 miles from the nearest trail, and I turn a corner and there's just a horse right there in front of me, a person on a horse. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? Because the weather, I mean, it was the first like 70-degree sunny day of the year.
mhm.
I'm like, what am I gonna do with this now?
Horse meat.
Turkey,
Well,
turkey don't mind the horse. That's funny.
So you love turkey, though. What any other pursuits that you're almost as passionate about?
Africa. I love big game. I love South Africa. And I will tell
So how does-
you,
Go ahead.
6 years ago, I was super against, I was very naive. I was very against trophy hunting. I never thought that I would find myself over there. And I was blessed with a wonderful opportunity. As I said earlier, my dad lived in Alaska for a period of time. He hunted, he had 3 girls, gave it all up. So my entire lifetime, he had never hunted. As far as I knew, and I found out that he had actually hunted previous when he lived in Alaska. But so in 21, I took my dad to South Africa, and he harvested his very first animal with me in South Africa, which was a sable, which was his dream. And I learned, and I really immersed myself in their culture and why they did things, the way that they run their conservation, their management. And I actually immersed myself so deep that I actually work for an outfitter in South Africa now. And I go every single year. I take co-ed groups to go experience something like that. I think that every hunter should experience it once in their life, if not just for the hunting aspect, to learn the conservation and the anti-poaching efforts that they put into everything, how much everything is utilized. Like even the stomach matter in animals is used. Every bone is taken, like nothing is left to waste. And I think we have a lot to learn from that management wise as well.
What's the logistics like for a trip like that when you do a group like with Women of the Wild? If you guys are planning a trip over there, like, and you probably have the inside scoop working for the outfitter or the guide over there, but what is it like to get 5 people over there, get them in the country, get their tags, get like whose firearms are you using? Like, how does that, did you ever go through a travel service, or have you just always piecemealed it together, and how does it all kind of come together?
Yeah, so I'm a researcher. If I don't know the answer, I'm gonna find it, or at least find somebody that does know the answer to give it. So I've never used a travel agency. I've done 4 trips over there, and absolutely love it, to the point where like doing the declaration is pretty seamless now with the travelers. So there's paperwork that you have to do. We personally set it up for our events that the firearms are rented from the outfitter. They
Okay.
don't have guides. They have a PH, which is a professional hunter. And they go through extensive training to be a PH, and hundreds of hours to do what they do. Like, you can trust them with your life with these animals, and it's dangerous. But as far as getting over there, it's pretty seamless when you go with us with Women of the Wild. We do it at a super discounted rate, so it's cheaper than to go on your own. It's pretty nice because we set it up to where your ammo, your gun, you don't have to worry about taking a firearm. If you want to, then we can deduct that off the price for you. But I like to set everybody up, because if your scope gets bumped, or like for bow hunters, yep, you can take your bow, but you might spend half a day resighting your bow in from it getting knocked
Yeah.
around through customs. So we try to include everything, like even the VAT tax, the 15% VAT tax in South Africa, we even include that in the price. So it's super cut and dry. But really, it's just buying your plane ticket and doing it. Like, that's the biggest thing, is doing that, doing your research to make sure you're doing your declaration and you're doing it properly for leaving the country. And then trust a trusted outfitter. I will say that is the biggest thing. I don't care who you go with. Pay attention to who you're booking with. Make sure you're vetting. Make sure you're calling and checking references. But there's no tags. There are CITES permits for certain animals. So most of your predator animals require a CITES. Your larger animals like elephants, rhinos, you're gonna need a CITES permit, and each animal is different based off of the category of CITES of how many weeks out before your trip you need to draw for it. Things like an elephant, you don't just decide one day I'm going to go shoot an elephant and go over there. Like, there's a lot of preparation. The outfitter that I work for, you actually have to go on like basically a wait list. They draw the permit. It can be a denied or approved, and then you have to wait for an eligible elephant, or if they did your permit specific for that elephant. Like, we've done damaged elephants that are animals, like elephants that are like causing destruction to whether any human interactions, their homesteads. It's a third world country, so it's pretty difficult. And they, without fencing and everything else, those elephants, they can smell water, they'll dredge up all the water, and it's pretty sparse. But you don't just decide, like all the plains game, fair game, like there's no permits or anything, you just pick what you want and you go take it. But as far as like CITES, it just depends on the animal. Right now, I have a crate landing in Atlanta tomorrow, and it's got primates in it. So I'm dealing with the whole permits and Fish and Wildlife for having all those 4 monkeys brought back. And it's
They're
extensive.
dead, right?
What's that?
They're dead monkeys, right?
Yeah.
They're not.
Yes.
Okay. Just checking.
The
Brought
thing
some
you
pets back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wanted to make sure.
I told you.
No
he
live
doesn't
animals.
hunt.
Shut up.
I what you said about elephants is important, because so many people don't understand when you're shooting an animal like an elephant in Africa. You're hunting a elephant. You're hunting a specific animal.
Mhm.
And that's people just don't, they just think it's like plains animals, and you just go over there and you're just like, oh, I like that one, and it's not that way at all.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, can you touch a little bit more on the differences of hunting in Africa versus North America? Because I think, like you even, said it earlier, there was some level of naivety on your end of what that looks like. And I think the vast majority of people in the US assume that if someone's hunting in Africa, like they just call it a trophy hunt, right? And there's negative connotations associated with trophy hunting.
Mhm.
But there are those situations where you're hunting an elephant that might have killed an individual, or might have, taken all the water out of a village. Can you kind of go into more of the differences between hunting in Africa and what that whole ecosystem and environment looks like when it comes to harvesting?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna back up to that trophy hunting phrase. For anybody listening that says that they're against trophy hunting, take a second to realize that any trophy hunter is going for the most mature animal. It's some of the best management with trophy hunting. You're also creating an economy. So whether that's your taxidermist, whether that's purchasing your gear, coolers, whatever. I think that for a long time, I carried a bad stigma against trophy hunting, that these people were just out there to mount an animal. That's probably the biggest bad stigma with hunting Africa is that they're trophy hunters. It's actually a really good thing because you're going for the most mature animal out there. You're not out there to just take anything. And I will say that it depends on the outfitter that you go with. Animal management is crucial. I will say, just like here in the US, there's good ones, there's bad ones. Check to make sure you're not being charged trophy fees. I think that's a big telltale that I like to stray away from, is if you're getting charged trophy fees, there's probably a reason, and they're willing to take animals that aren't within management. The outfitter that I work for is Rhino Land Safaris, and we are very dedicated. They are very dedicated to the best management possible. So you're not taking something within breeding prime. Here, I've guided down in Texas and a couple other states. A lot of it's about the pocketbook. It is not that for most outfitters over there. It is about taking the managed animals. So these are animals that are so old that they don't have teeth to eat, that they're running the risk of starvation, or they're not maybe mobile enough that they could be taken down by predators. And that's a pretty gruesome death. It's also animals that are past their breeding prime. So animals like hippos, elephants, giraffes, they will push out the younger bulls, and then there's no more families being regenerated there because the old bulls can't breed anymore. They're not producing offspring, but then they are not allowing the females to breed with the younger bulls, and it's a huge detriment to the population. So that's a big crucial role that I think Africa really has a good grasp on, is the management of these animals are some of the best you're going to see. But also the utilization. I think that to me was huge, to see that every single piece of an animal is used. I've always been a firm believer in that, but they took it to a whole new scale, showing that like every piece of that animal, every bone, every cut of meat, like I said, stomach matter, like eyeballs, cheek meat, like literally down to everything. A lot of the bones are reused to make like kitchen utensils or jewelry. And I think here in the United States, we often get catered to. It's not something we need. It's not something we have to sustain off of. They're living in a culture in a third world country where they have to sustain. So being able to utilize everything that they can from one single harvest is so important, that we should start, to me, utilizing the animals that we're taking here in the US a lot better, making sure that we're taking every cut of meat that we can off an animal, reusing things like a turkey wing bone, anything that you can do with that animal, that harvest, and tribute to taking that life, I feel is really, really important. That it'll bring a tear to your eye when you see what these villages go through to take a cut of meat from an animal. Whether it's taking a hippo and you're feeding a couple villages, or you take an impala that's able to feed a couple of families, it's really great to see how much of those animals are utilized. I think that's the biggest thing for me that I take away from it.
That's awesome. Do you have to get vaccines before you go over there? Like, does everybody get certain regimen of shots before they want a trip like that?
So it depends on where you're going. South Africa
Okay.
specifically, no. You're going in their winter. So we're actually going into their winter right now. That's our summer. So you don't have to worry about bugs. You don't have to worry about yellow fever, malaria, all that stuff. The only vaccines that are required are the ones through the airlines. So like when COVID was going around, COVID vaccines were required. But to go over there, there's no vaccine records required at all. It's just you book a flight and you go.
Is there a visa or anything, or is it just passport?
Just your passport.
So going back to Africa's management a little bit, another thing that I don't think people understand enough is that those hunts are almost exclusively funding anti-poaching efforts. And a number of years ago, I can't remember what country got rid of their trophy hunting because it was that derogatory term. And within like a matter of months, like this one refuge system was just wiped out because they couldn't afford to pay their law enforcement, the rangers, whatever they called them then. And I don't know if you know the detail, if you can remember the details of that one, but it was months, like just orders of magnitude increase in poaching because the funding wasn't there to pay the people anymore. And you want to protect those animals, let's do what you're talking about and actually manage the populations, but then protect them from the poachers who are going to go after them for financial incentives. So
absolutely. I believe it was Botswana that got rid of elephant hunting, and now they're seeing a massive influx in elephant population because they nixed it, and it's back. But the other thing too, to the anti-poaching efforts, yes, there's a lot of funding. FASA is fantastic at facilitating a lot for their PHs over in Africa. But another huge aspect to that is the trophy hunters that are going over there to hunt South Africa. All of that meat is being utilized. So whether that's being put into villages or sold at meat markets, it supplies a need for people to not have to go out and hunt for themselves because you're putting that meat on their table. So there's no real desire to have to go illegally take an animal when you're being provided that meat. The bigger efforts there are going to be like your rhinos. Unfortunately, rhino horn is worth a lot of money because somebody in China said that it's an aphrodisiac. And those rhino horns, the crazy part to me is they don't allow farming of a rhino horn. So you can't just cut off a rhino horn and let them go live their life. Rhino horn is the same thing as your fingernail, the keratin. You can cut it off, it'll regrow. They don't need it for survival, especially like on these ranches or in captivity or anything like that. They should be able to farm that horn to protect that animal, because the poachers come in, they cut that horn off, they kill that animal, cut the horn off, and that's it. They don't utilize it. Poachers they're not in it for the meat. They're not in it to utilize anything other than get that dollar from the horn. So that's a massive conservation effort that is protected by hunters. And as we know here in the United States, hunters are the leading contributors to conservation. It's no different over there.
And so you're only able to bring back like the cape, right? Like, so the what is, because the meat stays there. You said the bones are utilized, like even everything down to the stomach contents, but like you're able to bring the cape back, and then like the skull or the horn, the antlers, the horns, like what is allowed to come back with you?
Yeah, so and it does depend on the animal, because there are certain animals that we can't import. Like you can't import a brown hyena, but you can import a spotted hyena. Not really sure why that is with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, but I'd love that explanation. But you can't import lions. There are exportable tags in certain provinces for like rhinos and such like that, but for the most part, no, absolutely not any meat, but ever. But we eat a lot of that meat in camp. Whatever we don't eat is used for the next hunters in camp or donated out. As far as coming home, everything is, they call it in the salt. So they salt all the hides. They dip and pack if you want it dip and packed, or you can have it mounted over there and shipped back. So you'll get your skull, your horns, your skins. They do a lot over there, which is really cool, where they'll make your skins into something for you at a pretty affordable price. So like duffel bags, wallets, belts, all that stuff. It's pretty neat to see the utilization of everything. Like they'll make you pillows and send them back to you, or it's pretty cool.
What's your favorite thing with your artsy background? What's a unique thing you've made, or that you've got it turned into, or maybe your favorite piece that you've brought back from over there?
I'm just a really big fan of taxidermy in general. I love the look of an animal that looks like it's coming back to life and displaying that. So I will say that just the taxidermy alone is probably my favorite, but I do have some duffel bags and travel bags being made. Couches,
Out of what?
rugs. Oh gosh, everything: kudu, gemsbuck, zebra.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure you don't want the full list. There's 71 items coming home.
After seeing the beaver vest in action at convention,
I need a zebra vest.
we need to get them off of.
Vest.
We'll start talking about the aphrodisiac that is a beaver vest. And send those to China.
There, yeah.
So I got two questions for you.
Okay.
One, how many mounts do you think you have in your house? Just ballpark.
I don't. At least
you got 71 items coming back. I imagine it's a high number.
No, I mean I probably have at least, I'd say 6 mounts in every room minimum, and some of them have multiple animals on them. Like I have one that's a wood duck box with a duck and a drake flushing and a raccoon reaching into it. I'm really big into like the story behind a mount. But I have 17 currently that are going to the taxidermist now, just from Africa. On top of that.
Do you have a local taxidermist you want to shout out that does your work for you?
So I use St. Clair Flats Taxidermy. Darren Warner is fantastic. Nick and Darren do all my work. I don't take my taxidermy anywhere else. They do, whether it's fish, birds, big game, they do all of it. They do a phenomenal job. The biggest thing I'll tell people is make sure that you are storing your animal properly before you take it to the taxidermist, and make sure that you are communicating what you want. Because a lot of times we build up this expectation that if your taxidermist doesn't know what you want, they're never going to be able to recreate what's in your head.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. What is your favorite African meat that you've tried so far?
I was gonna ask that too.
Yeah.
If you'd have asked me this before last year, I would have said gemsbuck. Gemsbuck is one of my favorites. Eland's really good, but last year we were blessed with the opportunity to try hippo, and I will tell you that far surpassed any Wagyu beef you're going to eat.
What?
Hippo burger?
Really?
Little hippo steak?
Hippo. Yeah, hippo's
Interesting.
fantastic.
Was it like a cut, like a steak, or was it ground into like a patty, or how did you guys have it?
We had it. Well, the first time we ate it, it was just cut into cubes and done like a almost like a blue steak. Like it was still bloody in the center, very rare. Just seared on the outside. It was perfect. We had it for steaks one night, and then we did. I believe. I don't think they waste it on a ground, but typically it's done as a steak form. Like most of our meats that you're eating over there are going to be in a steak form, unless it's like impala. They'll grind that up and put it into a grind. And we do like impala burgers. We do gemsbuck lasagna over there, which is one of my favorites.
That sounds good.
This might be a dumb question, but do they farm any of those animals? Like, is there any way to access
Is there like
that?
a captive impala?
Well, no, you think about like
industry?
elk, right? Like you can
No,
buy
that's what I
elk,
mean.
but yeah. So like, is there any way that you can import meat in a legal manner?
Go to Texas.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
where
Yeah, I
the
mean,
zebra
Yeah,
I
that's
ate
true.
came from.
Yeah,
You go to Wildlife Buyer on Texas and you can get just about any animal. They call it a 10-to-1. So pretty much anything. So for instance, for a lot of people that think that South Africa is expensive, the most expensive part is your flight. An impala, for example, is going to be under $500 for you to take an impala. You go shoot one in Texas, you're probably looking at $500 to $7,500.
Yeah.
They do. That's a good point, though. I didn't think about that. They really do have everything in Texas.
Yeah. I had zebra from there.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, when I went to that dinner with
Oh, yeah. How was it?
up in Midland, it was delicious.
Zebra's good.
So I got to try it. Yeah, I got to try it a couple weeks ago for the first time. It was
I had some-
Texas zebra, but
I
it's
had
not
some
authentic. But
Ostrich and kangaroo jerky, like maybe last summer, and they were both really good.
that's
Yeah.
just what the package says. It wasn't.
It was-
It wasn't really
It was
ostrich.
cow. It was just beef.
I will say Texas is like a baby Africa. Like there are a lot of the ecosystem and the temperatures are very similar. It's just their seasons are flopped. I've done a lot of hunting in South Texas and West Texas, and it is very, very comparable to Africa, just on a much smaller scale.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
And they have a lot of the same animals. So anybody, I've done some guiding in Texas, and for a 5-day, it's like $58 for your exotic. That's pretty much anything that's not a managed animal. So like your managed animals are whitetail, turkey, mule deer, pronghorn, bighorn. I'm missing a few there, but those are like your managed animals. So anything beyond that, your exotics, your axis, your black buck, your zebras, like any of that's
Nilgai.
free ranging is fair game with that tag.
Oh, we might have to go to Texas.
Yeah, it's fun.
I know a guy. We know a girl too.
I think if I could do one hunt in Texas right now, though, it's hogs out of a helicopter.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I don't know why.
I felt
but-
that way once till I found out most outfitters don't recover them, and I'm not about the wanton
Yeah.
waste.
Oh, really?
Oh,
They leave
really?
them. They leave them alive.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you just roll through and mow them down, and then you fly off.
Yeah, that's less fun.
Yeah, I
So-
turned that down probably 2-3 years ago because they weren't willing to pick them up, and I was like, I don't know that I want to
Not
just go
even-
out there and maim them down.
Not
No.
even pick up one? Like,
Well, I
Most
wasn't
of
interested
the
in
hunts
picking up
aren't.
one. If we took them, I wanted
Yeah.
to take
yeah.
them.
Have you had wild boar in Texas?
I have. We did a all women's hunt a couple years ago. So amongst everything else that I do, I'm also a liaison for the First Hunt Foundation, which is a national nonprofit for getting people in the outdoors. And we've led an event for a group of women in a hog hunt. And I'll tell you that the little ones taste better, and you got to be careful of trichinosis. Pork carries carries some worms.
I've heard they're not great. That's why I asked.
I'm not a big pork person. I like my bacon, but aside from that, I'm not a big pork person.
Oh, like a good pork butt on the smoker.
Jowl
Ooh.
bacon. That's where it's
Ooh,
at.
Guys are ridiculous.
You don't like pork?
I do, but I'm not a smoking bro. that
Oh,
like
I'm a
talks about
smoking
my
bro.
that talks about how I smoked my meat so well.
I just got a new smoker. It's awesome.
See,
There's
exactly.
Wi-Fi. There's graphs. I get
Exactly.
to track my
Oh my
meat with
God.
graphs. It's so amazing.
That's spoken like someone who doesn't own a pellet smoker, because once
hunt.
you own
Oh
one,
my
you
God.
never go back. I don't know if you use a pellet grill at all, but they are game changing.
Yeah, I like the smokers.
No. Oh, she's a smoking sis. So
Bunch of smokers out here.
yeah, a bunch of smokers we got here. Felicia, how does like you talk a lot about the hunting that you've done. How does angling, like fishing and all that, work into it? Or is it easier to get a women's hunting like trip planned, or do you like is fishing an easier entry point for someone who's just never been part of the outdoors before? Or how does the angling side work into the whole mission and the program of Women in the Wild?
I mean, here in Michigan, we're the Great Lakes state. There's definitely more of a desire to fish. Those events fill up a lot better. We do sturgeon, we do muskie, we do multi-species walleye. We do an annual catch and cook every year. That's one of my favorites that we do on the Detroit River. We get a couple of captains together. We take them out fishing for 4 hours, and then we bring them back to a restaurant that prepares it in multiple ways for you to kind of test the waters of what you like. I do think that there's more of a drive for the angling side of it. And I will say, like, sturgeon is typically one of our better events as far as like better selling, a lot of drive and passion for catching one of those dinosaurs. They're all catch and release. Yes, there's a tag, a slot size that you're allowed to get one a year, but we don't facilitate that. Everything with us when it comes to sturgeon is catch and release. We'll take your photo and we safely put that animal back very slowly. But the other, like the big one lately is bow fishing, because you're combining hunting and fishing together. That one's been a really big hit the last couple of years. 4 years we've been doing that, and it's kind of neat. And that's a really great intro to both fishing and hunting. We brought a female veteran out with us a couple weeks ago. We teamed up with Outdoor Driven, and
Great
we had a
guys.
girl who
Great
was,
group.
what's that?
It's like that's a great group. Those guys are awesome, outdoor driven.
Yeah, they're wonderful. We team up for several events every year. We had a girl last weekend or 2 weekends ago, brand new to hunting, brand new to fishing, and just trying to find her way. And it's really neat to see somebody willing. I feel that women do this a lot. When we learn something, we like dive in like head first, and we're willing to just immerse ourselves in it. And it's really neat to see that. Usually that you just need that stepping stone, and then they're in there.
That's awesome.
Anything else that you want to touch on with Women of the Wild, with Misguided, your photography, education, anything that you just want to shout out, or any events coming up, or just anything in general we haven't talked about yet?
I mean, us with Women of the Wild, we just opened up our sponsorship program. That's really big. We're looking for small businesses to support our mission. And all of our funding, while we're not a nonprofit, we do sponsorships, and all of that funding goes directly towards taking out veterans, first responders, youth, and educational materials. So that's a big one. We have a calendar contest. It's our 4th year running that we promote women in the outdoors. And we also have a wild game cookbook that we do every year. We've even taken it to the squirrel cook-off in Arkansas, and it does really great. But it's
World
a great
Championship Squirrel Cook-Off. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we were
Yeah.
there last year. Clay Newcomb's group is actually who supplied us with squirrels because they weren't in season yet. We cooked up
Awesome.
3 different dishes. We did buffalo squirrel mac and cheese. We did whiskey squirrel tacos, and then the one that everyone thought I was crazy for, and I said, please just trust me. We did pulled barbecue squirrel on glazed donuts, and it was a massive hit. And then we
Pulled barbecue
actually,
squirrel is
My-
my favorite way to
My
cook
blood
it.
sugar
good.
just went up thinking about it.
oh my gosh, but it's so good. You have to try it.
Oh, I've done a fair amount of pulled barbecue squirrel specifically. That is my favorite way to eat it, but I've never done it on a glazed donut. I bet you that would be really good.
It was so good. So the family hit for my household is my squirrel dumplings. My kids rave for that, but we were told very specifically to think outside the box and do something that somebody may have not already had, and not do your traditional squirrel dishes. So that's where we kind of dabbled in like the buffalo mac and cheese and the glazed donuts, and
Did
super
you guys
super good.
place or get? Did you guys place or get ranked, or how did you guys do in the cook-off? Like, did you get a high scoring or make it to the top 10 or anything like that?
So we didn't even enter into the cooking. We just wanted to be a part of it. It was
Okay.
our first year, so it was just kind of our intro and our getting our feet wet in the atmosphere. People come from all over the United States. Like, I didn't even know that this was such a big thing until we went there. And ACC Crappie Sticks is one of our big sponsors and asked for us to be there. Had us set up a booth right next to them. But I mean, they were cooking up, the Asian carp, the flying carp. They were cooking, frying those up. They had, I believe it was like Nilgai. I'm sorry, they had Nilgai, but they had like a ton of food that wasn't your normal. It was really cool to see it cooked in so many different ways. The weirdest one, which I have to admit that I tried, was squirrel brain ice cream.
Ugh.
That was, it sounds gross. It really wasn't, I promise. And I would not ever recommend anyone to eat a rodent brain, but I did it, and it honestly wasn't bad.
Well, I'm really excited to ask you this next question. And we're supposed to ask this to all of our guests, and we've slacked on the last couple.
Wait, before you do though, I have to say I have a couple nuisance squirrels in my yard that I can basically walk up to. They're fixing that up on a donut. So like they're getting in, they're starting to get into my garden. So they are physically present where they could
Fixing
do
to be on a
damage.
donut.
Do it and let
So-
me know how it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
So the question we ask everyone is, on average, how many squirrels do you eat in a year?
She's probably gonna win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, did I eat?
Yep.
I don't know if I know that answer. Between my household, I would say we probably consume 100 squirrels a year.
Oh, you
win.
won.
You win by about 99 on average.
New
amongst our
record.
guests.
Really? Yeah. I mean, we'll go out, we'll get our, 5 squirrels, and then we'll come home, cook them. And then once that's gone and depleted out of our freezer, we're grabbing them. We can't even keep them in our freezer.
I
See,
love
I
that.
think the highest was Chad
a-
Stewart, but then he got all hoity-toity and he started eating pheasants instead of squirrels.
Yeah.
I like
So-
squirrel. Squirrel is probably, as far as like our Michigan animals, are probably one of my favorite. And a lot of people don't like the tree rat, but I'll tell you what, squirrels are, they're like dark meat chicken. They're just so good.
It is so wildly underrated.
Yes, absolutely.
Because people associate them with like suburb garbage eating
Yeah, they
squirrels that are
associate
on,
him with the squirrels that I could literally walk up and
Yeah.
grab this squirrel by
the
the
ones
throat.
out in the woods are not, it's like it's
No.
awesome.
Yeah, they're so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's not the ones that crawl around your neighborhoods.
Like, I was up at deer camp a couple years ago, and we finished, or it was the day before, so we had scouted, set up blinds, we were good, and we were waiting. So we just walked through the woods and did a squirrel hunt, and I just did it right, aluminum foil, right over the campfire. I ate the heart, and it was so good. But I prefer, like I said earlier, barbecue pulled squirrel in a crock pot.
on a Krispy Kreme, apparently.
Yeah, I'm gonna
That's-
try that. That's really
Get a box of
intriguing.
Krispy Kremes. That's awesome.
Yeah, come fall, my crock pot is permanently fixed on my counter, and there is almost guaranteed to be a squirrel in it.
Oh, that number might be hard to beat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
no one's
know if we're
beat
gonna
that.
get any other.
Well,
hundreds.
I do
love
have
that.
2 teenage growing boys too. So I'm saying
Sure.
consumed within my household. But yeah, I mean, we go out, we shoot our limits, and we come back, we clean them. And I mean, I can honestly tell you, it's not often that a squirrel sits in my freezer for more than a couple of days.
Yeah.
Here's another question then. Are you shotgun or 22
Ooh,
with a
yeah.
squirrel?
I will be really honest. I prefer a 22 or a 17. Another controversial is headshot, because I don't want to damage any of the meat we're going to consume. I don't let my kids use shotguns on them because I want to utilize as much of that meat as possible. So I actually started them both with 22s, or I use a 17, they use a 22, and I don't let them use the 410 or the 20 gauge. I know that that's a big controversial
I would
thing,
like
but
to say
I
that's
want the meat.
correct answer.
Up
Yeah.
until I won my Bergara last year, my most expensive firearm is the 1022 that I built specifically for shooting squirrels.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I've ever shot a squirrel with a shotgun. Like, I have no interest. If I'm
Mhm.
shooting a squirrel, it's because I'm going to eat it, and I want a 22 to the head because I don't want to ruin that meat.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey,
America.
Felicia, to backtrack a little bit, you mentioned the bow fishing. You know that Farmer does bow fishing, right?
Who does?
Brian?
Brian?
Brian.
No,
yeah.
we haven't. We actually have a meeting in like a week or two to go over some of our farm tour stuff and the leadership
Yeah,
meetings that are about to start. So I'll have to bring that up to him.
Yeah, he's got a whole boat rigged out with the floodlights and the chain of lakes he lives on. He does a lot of spearfishing throughout the summer, so you should pick his brain on that too, or see if he can help you guys out.
I definitely will. That's awesome. No, I didn't know that. We'll have to connect on that.
Awesome. Well, Felicia, where can everyone find you, Women of the Wild, all your social? Do you want to shout that out real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just do Women of the Wilds. I will say Facebook, Instagram, it's just under Women of the Wild. You'll have to make sure you got the right one. I know that there's a couple international groups that we are the one for hunting and fishing, not the PETA group. But you can find us, Women of the Wild. You can find us online at www.womenofthewild.net. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You can also email us if you ever have any questions at womenofthewildoutdoors@gmail.com. That email comes straight to our board, and we'd be happy to team up or facilitate or answer any questions that anyone has.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. We really appreciate you being on. And the Michigan Outdoors podcast is proud to partner with Giant Mouse Knives, a Michigan-based company born from a shared vision in 2015 to create knives that combine exceptional design, top-tier craftsmanship, and a strong sense of community. At Giant Mouse, every knife is crafted with care and purpose, from the first sketches to the final production. The team ensures that each blade meets the highest standards. Whether you're in the field, on the water, or tackling your next outdoor adventure, Giant Mouse knives are built to perform and made to last. Explore their full lineup of exceptional everyday carry knives at giantmouse.com and follow them on social at Giant Mouse Knives for updates on new releases and exclusive drops. MUCC members receive an exclusive 25% off their order with the discount code found in your member portal. Giant Mouse Knives, knives done right. Felicia, are you familiar with Giant Mouse?
I am not.
They are one of our favorite knives, if not the best. If you ever get a chance, grab one. If you're ever in the office, you'll have to come test them out. We have some demos here. But
Yeah, if you're ever in Lansing, come to the office and we can show you knives and the wolf and BS about cool stuff.
Yeah,
Teach
absolutely.
Steve
talk
about
about
hunting.
squirrels. Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a couple quick housekeeping items before we let you go. We have two events coming up on June 13th. We have the West Side Charity Shoot.
Yep. So over at Caledonia Sportsman's Club, we will be doing our second annual West Side Charity Shoot. This helps support the mission of MUCC. It's one of our annual fundraisers. There's still lots of room open for the shoot and sponsorships. You can sign up as an individual. You can sign up as a team. We have loaner shotguns as well. So we've had people show up at our events that have never handled a firearm or shot a shotgun, but they come out and they shoot some clays with us. It's a great way to bring your friends and family out, and it's open for all ages. There's a youth discount as well. So June 13th, Caledonia Sportsman's Club for the West Side Charity Shoot. And then coming up in July, we have the second annual Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing. This event supports our youth camp, and Mike's been a great partner and very passionate. We launched this event last year. This event is going to sell out, so get registered now. Lots of great sponsorship opportunities as well at that event. You're going to have your round of golf, lunch to turn, great dinner afterwards, lots of raffles and prizes to be given away. We're going to have an AR golf ball launcher this year as one of the holes. So,
Are we really?
yeah, the launcher just came in today.
Nice.
So
Does the golf course know this yet?
yeah, it just so you screw it on the end of the AR. You put a blank in the chamber and you shoot your golf ball down the par 5. And
Let's
so
go.
you can donate to utilize the golf ball launcher. But this is gonna be a great event. So July 25th at West Branch Country Club. Registration is open. Everything's on mucc.org under the events tab. And we hope to see you guys there. And also the East Side Charity Shoot is coming up in August. We're still a little ways out from that, but registration is open for our East Side Charity Shoot as well as our Rooster Ranch Bonanza. So there's an event every month now until September. So come on out and hang out with us and have some fun.
Last year at our charity shoot, Felicia, my intern Madison, it was her first time. She never shot a gun before, and she just kind of sheepishly looks at me and goes, "Can I shoot?" I'm like, "Hell yeah!" So we sent her out with Tyler, and my 19-year-old intern on a round of sporting clays outshot some of my board members who have been shooting for 60 years.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, so these events are for everybody.
That's amazing.
I mean, and it was awesome because she'd pull the trigger and it would like push her back.
Oh, she was like 80 pounds.
Yeah,
soaking
it was
wet.
tiny, but she went like 17 for 50, which was super impressive.
Yeah.
Wow. That is incredible.
Shout out Madison.
Yep. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for episode 19. Felicia, thank you again for being here. It was great to chat with you. And hopefully there's some potential for MUCC and Women of the Wild to collaborate in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you again for being on. It's been great.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. And I have to tell you guys one more thing about MUCC for the listeners. If you haven't checked out the youth events and the youth camps, you really need to. My son is attending one at the end of July, and I think that our youth really needs that intro to the outdoors more than we think. So even if your kid's not outdoorsy, it's a really great opportunity, whether it's angling or a summer camp, to get them involved, that MUCC, Michigan Outdoors, puts on for our kids, and it's very much needed. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah. Maybe we can find a way for you to come in and chat and talk about opportunities for the women once they graduate from camp and get their hunter safety, and we can try to funnel them into to Women of the Wild.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Also, we got to have your son be a spy on our camp director Shannon. Nobody knows what camp director Shannon is like.
I'll have to let him know.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Felicia. It's been great.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Yep. And we will see all of you for episode 20.